Welcome back. Thank you for staying with Monday Special. Now, motherhood should be a time of expectation and joy. However, for many women in developing countries, the reality of motherhood is often grim. These women die, sometimes, during the normal and life-enhancing process of procreation. For every woman who dies, many more suffer from serious complications, and one of those complications is a medical condition known as fistula. Now, according to the Kenya Demographic and Health Survey, the maternal mortality ratio is estimated at 488 of 100,000 live births. Fistula is among the reasons why. It's an abnormal or surgically made passage between a hollow or tubular organ and the body surface, or between two hollow or tubular organs, and we have a surgeon who will break that down for us in a moment. It's a common health and social problem. The social consequences include divorce by husbands, abandonment, ostracism by affected women's families and communities. Now, this is due to the uncontrollable leakage of urine and or feces and the accompanying smell. So that's what we'll be discussing tonight, which is fistula. Use the hashtag MondaySpecialKE on Twitter. Text us on 22422. Our panelists tonight, we have Dr. Charlotte Kaliti. She's a fistula surgeon. She's on my right. Thank you so much for coming. And we have Philista Mwoki, a financial advisor and a fistula survivor. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for coming. Dr. Kaliti, if I can start with you. I don't know if my definition was accurate there. What is fistula?
Well, now that you're talking about obstetric fistula, it's basically a connection between the birth canal and either the bladder or the rectum or both. And therefore, instead of urine or stool coming out through their normal passages, they would therefore be coming out through the birth canal.
Okay, and this is caused by prolonged labor, or what are some of the causes?
Obstetric fistula, when we call it obstetric fistula, is usually due to prolonged unattended labor. And so the labor gets obstructed, and because of the pressure between the fetal head and the pubic symphysis, which is the bone right above the bladder, then there's necrosis of the tissue. Necrosis here means the tissue dies. The muscles and the other tissues in between die, and therefore an abnormal hole is created, so to speak. But you can have fistulas due to other causes. Pelvic surgery, cesarean section, radiotherapy can all cause fistula. Oh,
that's why you're emphasizing that we're talking about obstetric fistula in this case.
Yes.
Some might say prolonged labor, many would think the baby's in distress, either the mother or the child dies. So how is it that it then happens that it turns into a case of fistula, as opposed to the fact that someone may end up dying? I don't know if I'm clear. Someone would think prolonged labor could easily equal death. So what happens that it's...
maybe to make it easier, when one gets a fistula, we call them a survivor because they survived death. In the worst, you lose the baby and lose the mother. But sometimes you lose the baby and the mother survives, but she survives with this condition called fistula. So the process towards death and the process towards the fistula formation sort of are similar, only that the fistula, of course, it's a local process. It's just between the bladder and the rectum and the vagina. But there are other things that go on in the body that could actually cause the mother to die. And we're talking about a woman going into labor for days. And normally you should not go beyond...
That is a survivor.
Hours,
I'll come to Philista in just a moment. One or two more questions. One of them is, how prevalent is fistula in Kenya?
Well, we don't have very accurate data, but anything between 2,000 and 3,000 new fistula cases every year.
Okay. And of course, women who don't have access to the right health care.
And usually those are the women who will get fistula, because when you talk about prolonged labor for days, where was she? Whether she didn't access the health care, or maybe she accessed the health care and she was not attended to in time. And for many of these women who deliver at home, they did not even try to reach the health care. And we talk about the 3 delays of maternal mortality, which are the same delays of fistula formation. The first delay means being delayed to in making a decision to seek health services. The second delay in accessing the health services, because of poor infrastructure, and availability of the transport. And the third delay is when the woman actually gets to the health facility but is not attended to in time.
Okay.
So those contribute to...
the other question I wanted to ask you before I move to Philista is, what is it that causes the smell?
The smell?
The smell, the one that I mentioned. that then leads to all this ostracism and everything, where the lady smells.
Right.
Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
So because she's licking urine and stool all the time, it is constant. Normally you have urine, but it's contained in the bladder, or stool is contained in the rectum. But when it's leaking all the time, it's like a little baby who's just you know, pooped on the cells and hasn't been changed, so you're always leaking, always wet, and it's really unfortunate.
All right. In a moment, I'll obviously want to ask you a little bit about how that's corrected surgically. Philista, tell us a little bit about your story and what happened to you.
As stated earlier, I'm Philista, but 6 years old, and I'm a mother of one, and when I was getting my firstborn, I just begot her so nicely, and I thought, you know, the second child would just, you know, I'll get her normally, just the way I did the first child. But little did I know that there were some complications that led to fistula. It was the year 2008 when I started laboring on 23rd December 08, and for the first child I labored for like 2 days, but fortunately I got on safely with no even a single surgery. The second child I labored again for 23rd, 24th. It's when you know, I was able the child to be removed for, you know, from the Hoover. When the pain started, I was rushed to the hospital where I delivered my daughter, my firstborn. Same nurse, so I had confidence. So there is nothing that would happen. But unfortunately, it happened. The child was big. The child was big than even the firstborn. I didn't know, but the nurse kept telling me that all will be well. So
at this time, were you still in labor when you were rushed to hospital?
Yes. Because I remember I started laboring at around 10 a.m. The whole of 23rd, morning 24th, when things became, you know, worse. So I was to be rushed again to the hospital for more you know, more care. But it was too late for me. Just the way the doctor said, you may end up losing yourself, you know, the mother or the child. Like on my side, I lost my child, and now the child got lost or died. So I was in the hospital. I was taken initially. They were not able to save me and save my child, so there was no other option than to be rushed at Kenyatta Hospital where I got an assistant, but it was too late. When I arrived there, I think I was in a coma in a way, but the only word that I had, can we save the mother? I wrote with the child is. You heard that? Yes, that one I had. So I was, you know, the nurses at Kenyatta rushed. I was done. I remember, and I also was told again, I ended at Kenyatta Theatre at around 8 a.m. and they managed to, you know, to do the surgery at around 6 p.m. Not that, you know, there was delay, but they were trying to rescue my life, which I thank God after this danger. Because of that, and even because of the Kenyatta, you know, doctors. Then the fistula, now, you know, after the surgery, of course, you just go to, you know, become you're in a coma. I remember when I came to senses, it was around 8 p.m. I remember it was 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So when I opened, I just found myself, I was in a room alone. Then the only thing that came in my mind, where is my baby? I was at Kenyatta delivery. Where is my baby? There was a nurse who was sitting there again, you know, beside me. I asked her, where is my child? She told me, hujaambiwa mtoto wako amekufa? So I just went, you know, she went and brought the dead child to me. Then I just again went to a coma. I was taken to the ward. I was in GFA. That's why I was admitted. The ward, I can't remember. I can't forget. All the details, I can even remember even how the reception there, how the bed that I was, you know. So I was put there, all the mamas were having kids, but me, I didn't have any. So that night I was taken there. In the morning, it was when I was becoming, at senses. I could define myself with low pipes. I had a pipe here. And also another pipe that they put the catheter. Because of course, the fistula is already developed. But I didn't understand whether there is something that it is like fistula. As in my life.
Yeah.
So and then, the doctor usually come visit you every morning. So it was like, is this a lady? Ombi got a very giddy, tall, big baby. So then I was, auntie, where is the baby? Again it was traumatizing me again. Then so in their talks I could hear she has developed fistula. Then I was like, fistula felicitas. Now what is that? What is this? A Latin word. So it took me like 3 days to realize that I could not even go to for a short call.
Yeah.
Really just the way you usually do normally. But all the time the Kenyatta nurses could tell me that all will be well. High-end nurses who used to come and visit me, Sister Kimonge, and I said she's still there. She would come and encourage me, because when I was told that you've developed fistula, I was told it can even be rectified even without surgery. So I was like, okay, how? So Sister Kimonge will try to encourage me and bring the therapy, for me. But again, it affected me. Since I had been done the surgery to, to remove the baby, when I was almost being discharged from hospital, the wound burst again. Because of the time I could, once I hear the baby crying, I could remember where is mine.
When you hear another baby crying, you thought...
No, I was in a ward, and every lady there had a child, and then the nurse would say, "Chukwani moshe watoto," such kind of things. Then me say, "Now, what I used to go, I would get out, sit somewhere there." I can also remember very well where I was seated.
Okay.
So there was much trauma. Now, then I was, I become to another situation like, how can I, will I become the same Felicitas again? Because sister, I could tell sister, me, I've never known this. To me, it was dead. Yeah. To me, it was like, just the way people perceive it. You child, or maybe now, my child has already died.
Yeah.
I am in this, situation. So,
can I ask you, sorry to interrupt your story, because I know it's coming from a very deep place.
Yeah.
I'm just really scared we might run out of time and we want to ask a few more questions. The doctor mentioned uncontrollable urine and feces, etc. In your situation, did the fistula worsen? And how was it eventually corrected?
Like mine was urine. There are those cases where it is both. Mine was urine. Okay. So later on I was discharged from Kenyatta Hospital, and it was after 1 month, and the urine was still leaking. Okay. But they took care of me. I left the hospital with the catheter, which it was a very hurting situation because I've gone home with no child. I could not even go to the other ladies, the chamas and kadhalika, or even job. By then I was working in a school and I was working as a receptionist. So I was like, I will never even go back to school, and work. Okay. So to me, it is so shameful because let me tell you, I could not even get out from the house. My husband was nursing me there. My child was like, "What is this, Mama?" So I latched on, and sometimes there are, more carries from your fellow ladies.
From fellow ladies. So they knew about it, and
they knew because it was like the child died, and she can't control urine.
How did that affect you, even in terms of psychologically,
emotionally? It really affected me because it even extended to wherever I'm married, and my husband was even like, she had, let him look for another wife. That's what happened. And they were saying, because of what happened. Yeah. Because they were like, I'd never be normal again. They told it's like a curse in the family. Okay.
Can I take you back a little bit before I ask the doctor another question? Even for your first child and your second, is there a reason why you had prolonged labor and why you didn't go to hospital?
Yes, just from the one, I said that where I begot my first child is the same hospital. the same nurse.
Yeah.
So what happens? I had faith. You know, I'll be, you know, well. But mine was a prolonged labor. I was like, it was a prolonged labor, and I didn't know whether the child was bigger than the first one.
So even for the first one, you took about, did you say 1 day before you actually went and had your baby? You were in labor before you went to hospital?
Yes. Hospital. Let me say that it was, you know, out of negligence.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, that's what I was trying to get to. So is that it sometimes? It's just a case of not really knowing when the right time to go to the hospital is?
Yeah, and it does happen. And like she's saying, this was her first pregnancy. And sometimes she is not even aware that she should do something about it.
And she survived it, so she thought, okay.
She survived it. Some women go to the hospital and they're pushing. They didn't even know their labor was that advanced. So they take long. And at times, in certain communities, they would prefer to, you know, engage a traditional birth attendant or have the mother-in-law attending before going to the facility, you know, just trying to see if it will work at home.
Yeah. All right, Doc, how is fistula corrected?
So like she alluded to it, if you get the mother early enough and it's a small fistula, just continuous urine drainage using a catheter, which is a pipe inserted through the urine to ensure that you're bypassing the hole, would give it time and room to heal, especially if it's a small fistula. And the catheter can be in for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But for the larger fistulas, or maybe you get the woman much later on, then the only way to manage it is through surgery, corrective surgery. But yes, it can be cured.
All right. And does it only happen in someone else in the developing world? Do you have cases like this that happen beyond Africa and Asia where you can find these issues? It does, and it's again just maybe negligence.
Yes, it does, although the patterns of fistulas are changing, and even in our setting in our country we're seeing more fistulas due to pelvic surgery, like I mentioned earlier, due to radiotherapy, and that's the situation in the more developed countries. You rarely find women getting fistula because of an obstructed labor process. It's more because of the other causes.
Right, and it's a surgery, so a lot of people are asking, so what is the cost of fistula? Probably quite high, especially for those who really need it.
Definitely.
Right?
Like we've said, most of the women who get obstructed fistula are those who really can't afford care. And we are lucky because there are many partners in Kenya who are supporting fistula surgeries. So most of these women actually get the repairs, the surgeries free of charge at whatever facilities. Kenyatta National Hospital, there is Gynocare in Eldoret, and there are camps which are situated in different facilities at different times of the year. And so the women get free surgery. They never have to pay a cent.
Right. One or two more questions because we're completely out of time, and then I'll get your closing comment is, tell us a little bit about World Fistula Day and what usually happens in Kenya and how people can gain access to that kind of help, information.
Basically, World Fistula Day is a day to, you know, talk about fistula, celebrate those who have been survivors and have been cured, and also, you know, it's an sort of like an advocacy campaign, because many people don't even know that fistula can be treated, can be cured, and women come after 30 years of having a fistula. So it usually occurs in May, around 22nd, 23rd of May, and this year will to be happening, obviously, and we'll be celebrating. So it's basically to get people to know what fistula really is and what kind of treatment, what kind of services are available for fistula patients. Even beyond being cured of fistula, there are other rehabilitative services that are available for them.
All right. Is there a particular organization that drives it? Is a Kenyan organizations coming together to sort of drive it?
Yeah, there are different partners. Government is going to participate in this, and other institutions, other partners, Freedom from Fistula Foundation, AMREF, UNFPA has been a major supporter. There might be a conference at KU, Kenyatta University this year, and there will be that commemoration of the World Fistula Day.
All right. Well, what would you want to say to someone who's listening and isn't sure if this is something that could happen to them, or someone who knows of a lady who maybe goes through prolonged labor and thinks that she's going to be lucky next time?
Well, I would want to say that fistula can be cured. Women don't have to live with their problems, with leakage of urine and stool. Please go to your nearest facility, talk to a healthcare provider, and they can direct you to where you can get help. But yes, you can be cured and you can get your life back.
All right, thank you so much. And for you, Felicitas, thank you so much for sharing your story. How is your life now? You know, how are you feeling? Are you fully healed? Is your life back to normal?
Yes, since 2009, you can see I'm strong.
Yeah.
My dignity was restored back. I'm not living in shame. That's why I'm never out since 09 to talk to my fellow ladies who are hiding themselves there. This thing is not witchcraft. It's not a curse. It has cure. It is free. Like me, I was treated free through AMREF. That's why I usually come and talk out of my experience. Yes, because you know, you believe that way, you know, there is a, you know, blessing, there is a testimony. So I'm there out here hearing everything to everybody.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your strength and your
courage. If you can see me walking, you cannot
You're good.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
How long
and again, another thing I just wanted to tell the, you know, the public, this one does not even choose age.
Yeah.
Don't even assume that even begot my first child or the third or the fourth normally. This one can happen to the first, to the last, to the 10th child.
As the doctor said, just get the information from your expert. Very quickly before you go, how long is the healing process?
Usually after surgery, it will be about 2 weeks with the catheter. And if the fistula has closed, it has closed. But usually the tissues take time, minimum of about 3 months for you to heal completely.
Thank you both so much. Thank you for your, your knowledge, and thank you for your inspiration. Really. Right. We'll be right back on Monday Special after this break.